It's not uncommon for your dog or cat to suffer from digestive disorders. Unfortunately, acting quickly can prevent them from worsening. This morning, we have Dr. Guy Fyvie in studio with us to discuss digestive disorders and find out what we can do to recognize it, treat it, and prevent it altogether. Dr. Guy, so good to have you in studio this morning.
Great to be here.
I know that it might seem like a simple question, but just to contextualize, exactly what is a digestive disorder in a pet?
We probably would call it gastrointestinal disorder. Any part of the gastrointestinal tract from the mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, and the rest, and also other things that attach to that, like the pancreas.
So what are the most common causes of digestive disorders in pets? What brings it along?
Okay, so the most common is usually what we call garbage disease. So it's what dietary indiscretion, where an animal has eaten something that they shouldn't. We call it garbage disease because that's usually where puppies and dogs and cats pick it up from. Obviously, infectious causes are very high on the list. Different foods that don't agree with them, so something like food allergy can also be something that affects them.
Okay.
And then also if they eat certain human foods, they can have problems with that.
So Dr. Guy, you talked about a negative dietary intake, but what about a positive one? How important is a good diet for your pets?
Obviously, for general health, it's really, really important. From a gastrointestinal point of view, and especially if they do have a gastrointestinal disease, it's critical. Because the cells in the gut actually get fed from the food itself. It doesn't come from the body. So you need to have food in there to keep the gut healthy. So you need a highly digestible diet, usually lower in fat, because, as we know, fat also causes some irritation. We have a diet called ID low fat, which actually has ginger in it. And ginger is also known to be an anti-inflammatory and to stop vomiting.
Let's talk about symptoms for a second. If I were to look at Bob or Bella, how would I know that they were suffering from a digestive disorder?
All right, so the most obvious thing, the way that the stomach works, is that if there's something it doesn't like, it gets rid of it. So I know this is a morning breakfast show, but vomiting and diarrhea are the general signs that you're going to see. They're obviously going to get dehydrated. They're not going to want to eat. That's a very, very good indication. We obviously know when we're nauseous. When they're nauseous, they just don't eat. So that's one of the indications.
And those are the things you need to look out for.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, what about treatment options once we've noticed these symptoms?
Certainly, I mean, you need to decide and go to the vet. And then depends on the diagnosis. So if it's a bacterial infection, obviously you would treat for that, treat for worms. Unfortunately, there are viruses that we need to worry about. There we should have been vaccinating before, something like parvo. If they do get parvo, then it's quite an intensive treatment. Then it's being put onto a drip and being kept nil per os for a day, and then slowly feeding the correct types of food.
And of course, not recognizing these symptoms is detrimental to your pet's health.
Absolutely. You know, if it's an older, bigger dog, usually it's not much of a problem to start with. The smaller and younger they are, the quicker they dehydrate, and the more likely it's going to be an issue.
Well, I mean, they can't necessarily speak, so we have to be vigilant as pet owners and make sure that we see it when it arises. Dr. Guy, thank you so much. Any last words with regards to this topic?
Okay, so most importantly, I think make sure that your animals are vaccinated for things like parvo. And then also just be careful about letting them get into the rubbish, obviously. And then things like treats and hooves. These kind of things can cause problems with the mouth. And also what they do with these is they'll go and bury them, and then they become rotten, and then they'll go and dig them out again, which often causes some problems as well. Beware of them drinking dirty water, because that obviously contains bacteria and other things that could be a problem. And then there's certain plants as well that you need to worry about. I'm not saying that basil is one of them, but there are plants that they should be avoiding.
Wonderful. Thank you. Knowledge is power, as they say. Thank you so much, Dr. Guy.
It's a pleasure.
Now, if you've recognized any of the symptoms we've talked about this morning in your pet, hopefully now you know exactly what to do.
Get a free food bin when you buy selected bags of Hills Pet Food from participating veterinary outlets while stocks last. For details, visit hillspet.co.za/news.